anyone who joins my chat later, or watches my video later. This is my first time with this avatar. So, today, just kind of messing around, seeing how things go, and figured I'd play some Thousand Year Vampire. Well, I wait around, see if anybody joins me. So, not sure how many people are familiar with Thousand Year Old Vampire, but it's a solo RPG format, mostly diary writing, and created by Tim Hutchins. Kind of found it while I was watching Dicebreaker. They did some community playthroughs, and it looked interesting, so figured why not give it a shot. I've really I've played some solo rounds, but I figured streaming it would be a lot more fun than just playing by myself. Alright, so now to get things all set up here. Alright. Oh, I'm going to want to shrink myself down. How is that? That looks better. Alright, so Thousand Year Vampire's pretty simple to play. So you get to So the way the Thousand Year Vampire works is you play the life of a vampire that's obviously living for a while. There's a book companion that goes along with it, and you first create your character. So, character is created via memories, experiences, characters both mortal and immortal, resources that you obtain throughout your journey, and skills and marks. Marks are what identify you as a vampire. And I think 1 sec. Alright, and back. So, as you play, you'll create memories that or experiences from different prompts that you receive throughout the book. And those experiences get put into memories. You can have 3 experiences per memory, and you, as a vampire, can only have a total of 5 memories in your head at a time. As you proceed throughout the game, you'll have to choose what memories you want to get rid of, what memories you want to keep, and so forth, so on. You can transfer up to 4 memories to a diary. However, you can no longer add experiences to those memories, and your vampire forgets whatever memories are in the diary. However, he believes that everything that's in the diary is accurate and does not think that there's any falsehoods in it. Some This comes into effect because there are some prompts that make you change diary entries or adjust diary entries, and so those could change what your vampire's truth is. So, to start off, we have to come up with a character name and backstory. So, I hadn't come up with a character name yet, but backstory was born in a poor village, and he ended up having to turn to a life of crime as a highwayman. For backgrounds and names, you can choose anything, and you don't have to be historically accurate with this game, but it is kind of fun to interact with interact with famous people throughout the game. So it never hurts to be a little bit accurate with time periods. So, how about we just go with my now where'd be? Where is a good place for Robert? I think I will put him over around. Hmm. You can't see my face, but it keeps going to a puzzled look. Let's just say that it's a random village called Huntington Village. And we will be located. I'm just too lazy, so I'll probably just do England. It'd help if I could spell. And I always usually cheat, so I'll probably just go with in the year 1000. How do you spell thievery? Eh, gotta love autocorrect. Alright. So now, next step is to come up with 3 mortal characters, 3 resources, and 3 skills. So, mortal characters can be friends, rivals, love interests, whatever, or even just random acquaintances. It is whatever you think will help write the narrative. Resources are everyday items, so, like, and you kind of want to do items that are important to you. So, in my case, probably go with. Eh, Knife is always a very good resource for a thief. Um, oh, and resources can also be groups of people. So, like, if I had a gang with me, I could put them down as resources without having to put them under the mortals and have each one named. So, I think a knife. Um, I was thinking more highwayman thief than like pickpocket thief, so we'll go ahead and go with bow and arrows. And then let's see, what else would a thief need? Um, hmm, I'm really at a loss. I think the setting up the character is probably the hardest part of this RPG, but get through it. So knife, bow and arrows, and let's just say he has a rabbit's foot for good luck. That could be interesting. Alright, and one thing about resources is that even though you don't specifically state out a resource, that does not mean that you can't use it narratively. It just, so like, obviously my thief has like probably a cloak or something. One second. Alright, so obviously he has a cloak. I just cannot use the cloak as a resource for mechanical items in the game, or like in the meta game. So narratively can use them, meta gaming cannot. Alright, and now skills. So skills are pretty self-explanatory. They're things that you can do or have the ability to do. So right now they're going to be basic human skills, but later down the line you can add on vampire skills that you can use mechanically and narratively. So some skills that our highwaymen probably would have are intimidation. And hmm, that's probably a good marksman. And let's say that he's a good dueler. Alright. So let's go ahead and go back to creating our moral characters. So I think first off we'll probably want a friend, obviously. So let's go ahead and name him Paul. One of these days I'll get it right. Alright. And we'll probably have a fence to sell all our unbegotten goods, if that's the right phrasing. Um, what should we name our fence? Hmm, Henry. Henry's a good English name. And let's have some sort of rival. Hmm. Or we can have another companion. How about... Either way, he'll be named Timothy. And no, I'd rather have a rival of some sort. What will Timothy be? Will he be a knight that's trying to stop or catch me? Or will he be a rival highwayman? Waits the. That sounds like a good gang name for highwayman. Alright, so now what I get to do is in memories 2, 3, and 4, I get to write one experience that's related to two of these, at least two of these groups. So, what should I do? What should I do? Hmm. I mean, obviously, bow and arrows and marksman go together along with dueler and knife. Oh, actually, I can do four of these things together for one experience. So, Alright, so that covers ball, bow and arrows, rabbit foot, and marksman. So now let's go ahead and do Henry and knife. Instead of calling it a knife, I want to call it a dagger. Just preference. We just recently purchased client. Alright. And then the last one. Let's go ahead with Timothy. Alright. So with that, we come to our final memory slash experience that we have to create. In this one, we are going to create an immortal character who is the one who ends up transferring the vampiric powers to us. And during this process, we're going to have a mark. So the mark can be pretty much anything that would kind of prove that you're a vampire. So some of the examples they provide in the book are like you begin to grow horns, or you have a dark halo above you, or you have a wound on your neck that continues to bleed consistently. So it is pretty much up to whatever you want. So we shall name this one. I've got a lot of mail, so why not have it be Catherine? So yeah, we'll just have her be a noble woman that we tried to rob her cart, carriage, whatever, and she turned it around on us and ended up turning me into a, or turning Robert into a vampire. And now the mark that I would like to do, um, let's see. So one thing I will say, and am a little bit confused of, I'm sure it probably is just player preference, is if we have the normal um, traits of a vampire that most people are used to. So, do we normally, like, they do, I'm pretty sure you still have to drink blood in order to survive. So, I think that is one that's just automatically assumed. However, I'm not sure about do you have a weakness to sunlight? Do you have to be invited in? All those things. And the book doesn't really give a good explanation of, like, what is expected of those quote unquote normal traits that are expected. So, I think for this session, we will say hmm, we'll say that our hands have mutated into the Alright. So that'll be a fun one to play with, because obviously we'll need to try to hide that mark somehow. So that way others don't realize that we have been turned. Alright, so then gotta create a memory. So I'll probably say something like, that is character creation. So from here, it is a pretty simple mechanic. So you start by getting a D10 die and a D6 die, and you roll them, and then you take you subtract the D6 die from the D10 die. So in my case, I rolled a 7 on my D10 and I rolled a 5 on my D6. So I open the book starting at prompt 1, and then I count 2. So we end up doing prompt 2. And in the book, they have 3 questions, because in case you didn't realize, you can also move backward pages. So say that I rolled a 4 on my D10 and I rolled a 6 on my D6. That would mean I would move back 2 prompts. So each prompt has 3 questions. So you start, if it's your first time on the prompt, you start with the first question. If it's your second time, you go to the second question. If it's your third time, you go to the third question. If you end up on the same prompt for the fourth time, you just go ahead and skip it and re-roll the die to proceed on. So, my first prompt is: horrified at your new nature, you withdraw from society. Where do you hide? How do you feed? Create a stationary resource which shelters you. So, what this means is now I create a new resource. So, I think I will look for a nearby cave. I mean, not very original, but hey, it matches the prompt. And then we have to write a new experience. So every time you get a new prompt, you have to create a new experience. And the experience has to, what's the best way to phrase this? The new experience you create has to go in a memory set that it's kind of related to. So, in this case, I think the best bet would probably to make this and put the new experience here. Let's see. Just saw that and had to fix it. Alright. And I also have to come up with a way of figuring out how do I feed. So one thing the book does tell you is that you don't have to answer every question, but I kind of like to, at, if I don't write it down, I like to at least think through of how that would work, just for the roleplay aspect and for future prompts that could come up. So, how do I feed? Alright, so here we go. Uncertain on how to cope with these new changes occurring within my body and my mind. I retreat to a cave I'd camped out several times before. Luckily, I can hunt, and the raw meat and blood satisfies the hunger. For now. Alright. So, one other thing just to bring up as I fix this is that there are two ways that you can kind of write down your experiences. You can either write them down in. So, obviously, you write down all your experiences in your memory section. However, you can choose how much detail you go into. So, what I'm doing today is I'm just going to kind of go into a little bit more detail in the experience sections itself. In past sessions, and the other way that they mentioned that you can play is just write down one or two sentences explaining the experience, but then you can actually like journal out the story. So I do like the journaling out the story, but it's a little bit more work. And since this is first stream, I figure I'll keep it to less work for now. Alright, so proceed to the next prompt. Alright, so I rolled a 5 on my d10 and a 2 on my d6. So now we get to move forward 3 prompts. To prompt number 5. So prompt number 5 states, you murder someone you love or respect rather than let them expose you. Kill a character, check a skill. If you have no living characters, kill no one and create a beloved mortal character who you have betrayed. Alright, so this comes to the next mechanic of the game. Whenever it says to check a skill or check a resource, that means that you still technically have the skill or the resource, you just cannot use it mechanically anymore. So in this case, I'll check a skill, probably check the marksman. And just to symbolize it, I'll put an X to say that that skill has been checked. And then I will probably, unfortunately, kill off my best friend Paul. And I keep forgetting how to line through. So it is best to cross out things that you no longer have rather than delete them, because you can always go back and reference stuff. Um, yeah, format. Forgive me. There we go, strike through. Alright. So then we get to create a memory. So obviously I should probably put the Paul memory with the Paul. Or I should put the Paul experience with the Paul memory. Alright. So for this prompt, Paul has seen me start changing from the friend he knew and grown scared of me. He was fearing for his life, seeing that my appetite was not truly being fulfilled by the meat of animals. He should have kept his plan to turn me in a secret, but I knew he would be a liability. E- uh, even if you hadn't. Being proficient with a bow is pretty useful in times like these. Alright, so now we get to move on to the next one. So the point, or I wouldn't say the point, the way that this RPG ends is A, you come across a prompt that's pretty much kills off your character, or B, you run out of resources and skills that you can check. So, with that in mind, you can, as you check resources, they'll have the X next to them. If you come to a prompt that tells you to check a resource or a skill, and you no longer have any other skills or resources that you can check, you get to check the other one. So if I'm out of resources and I need to check a resource, I can end up checking a remaining skill. And in those cases, you have your experience is the worst possible experience that you can have at that point. So you just have to narratively explain why it was so bad. Yeah, and so you keep going. Alright, so time for the next prompt. What will I roll? What will I roll? Alright, I rolled a 10 on the d10 and a 6 on the d6. If only I had these kind of rolls during my own RPG sessions. So that would be 4. So I will be going to prompt 9. And prompt 9 reads as the following. You develop a system for feeding. What is it? What happens to those who die? Create a skill that reflects this. So, I mean, obviously I have a very good way to get my meals now. So, I think I will go with first, what kind of skill would I like to do? Hmm. I think I want to get the skill of hypnosis. And where do I want to write this experience? I think I will finish this out. Yeah, I had no idea how to spell entourage. Alright, so my prompts, or my experience is with Paul out of the picture, I am a solo bandit now. I have innately discovered, not sure if that's the right way to phrase it, that I have the power of hypnosis. This has made me quite efficient in both robbing and feeding. The best thing about it is, my victims do not even realize that they're missing their valuables, and, on occasion, a member of their entourage. Alright, so now that Memory 2 has 3 experiences, it is now full. So I can no longer put any more experiences under this memory. However, what I can do is if I come across a new prompt and I can't fit it into any of these other 4 memories, I can transfer Memory 2 into a diary. The diary will be a new resource, and it will contain all these experiences. However, like I think I mentioned before, Robert will no longer actually remember these experiences. He can reference them because whatever he writes in his diary he believes is true. But in his mind, he can no longer picture any of this. If I didn't want to go the diary route, I could just delete an a memory. And also, you don't need to have a full memory to transfer it over to the diary. You can, like, I could transfer memory 1 over to a diary if I really wanted to. But it kind of is a waste of resource management, really. Alright, so on to the next one. Alright, so I rolled a 7 on the d10 and a 2 on the d6. So now I am going to up 5 spaces to prompt 14. And I'm really crushing through this. There are, let's see, how many prompts are there? There are 80 normal prompts, but then there are a bunch of alternate prompts for if I really wanted to like change things up. Like I kept getting the same prompts over and over again in my playthroughs. I could change them up to these different ones. Alright, anyway, on to prompt 14. Alright, so prompt 14 states, an enemy character uses a lost resource to turn your few friends against you. Check 3 skills to regain the resource, or check 1 skill to barely survive. Which former friend did you kill? Where do you flee? Alright. So I technically don't have any lost resources, so I could create a new resource. So I can either check 3 resources and get a new resource, or I can, oh no, sorry, I got that backwards. I can check 3 skills to get a new resource, or I can check 1 skill and barely survive. So, what do I want to do? Um, well, this is a tough one. I mean, obviously it's Timothy betraying me to my favorite fence. But how do I want to... What instigates it? Hmm. Okay. So, obviously, I think the way to go is Timothy stumbled across one of my robberies, or what's the term? One of the crime scenes, and discovered somewhere where I left claw marks. I'm trying to think of a resource that I could use to clarify that. And of course, he knew that it was on my turf, so he'll use that to convince Henry to turn on me. And then I just have to figure out if I want to just check. I think I'm just going to check one skill, just resource management wise. It makes the most sense to only check one and barely survive. And of course, kill off my dear friend Henry. May he rest in peace. Alright. So, how do I want to write this? And what skill do I want to check? I think I'll have to end up checking the dueler skill. And I will add this memory over Timothy since I mentioned the turf war. Actually, so what I am going to do is I'm going to lose my rabbit's foot. As well as my dueler. I forgot the C. Alright, so my response or experience, why did this have to go so wrong? It appears that Timothy had been encroaching on my turf again and discovered my rabbit's foot around a pile of dead bodies that I had feasted on. He proceeded to convince Henry that I was hiding something nefarious. Instead of turning me in, Henry tried to confront me to turn myself in peacefully. How could I give up this life that I had earned? In a fierce duel, I fled the village with one less acquaintance. It doesn't quite explain the barely survived, but I like to think that Robert was severely injured. Alright, so now I have lost a resource. I've checked 2 skills. And I am no longer in Huntington Village. Alright, next prompt. Alright, so I rolled a 2 on my d10 and a 4 on my d6. So I go back to prompts. That will put me at 12. Alright, so prompt 12 reads as: new laws or social mores make it harder for you to hide among the populace. How are you nearly caught and destroyed? Check a skill, create a skill, create a mortal criminal who assists you. So first I have to figure out where I'm at now. Decisions. And unfortunately, I don't think I have anybody in the chat to help me out. Nope. Probably do just a curfew, since I probably be doing most of my stuff at night. Alright, so I do need to check a skill. And then I'll be creating a new skill. of now. I want to look at this one. And flat down. So, my experience, I fled to the bustling town of Londonderry on the trail to find Catherine. While trying to find more clues, I had been trying to earn some money through more physical means. During one of these intimidations, I shoved my victim a little too hard. In came some knights to arrest me for disturbing the peace. I quickly bolted to escape. While I fled, a man named Luther helped distract the knights long enough for me to hide in some shadows, using a new power I had recently learned. I vowed to help Luther out if he was ever in a pinch. Oh, I guess I probably should strike out Henry. Alright. Alright, I think I will probably do two more prompts and then I will call it on this on tonight. So let's go ahead and roll. Alright, I rolled a 5 on the d10 and a 1 on the d6. So forward 4. Over to prompt 16. Some mortals have banded together to hunt you, well armed and wise to your tricks. How do you defeat or evade them? Create a mortal hunter related to one of your checked skills. Check a skill. Alright. So I think I am going to check the skill that I just got. And why not make it one of the more famous vampire hunters? Alright. So, question is where to put this memory. I think I'm going to flee again. This is what I was going for. Alright. So, I know I said 2 prompts, but that is actually a pretty good spot to end it on. Alright. So that's the start of 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I wonder if I accidentally did something. Okay, yeah, I did. Alright. So, like I said, that's a 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. Oh, hello, welcome to the chat. Sorry that you joined just in time for me to actually sign off. But I think I'm going to try to make this a regular thing and probably. Oh, thanks. Quite literally threw it together for just this. Hello, Mafuyu as well. So, I was doing 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. It's a diary RPG for solo. But I just ended that and I'm actually about to sign off. But I do plan on continuing it. So I think I'm going to try to stream or do this just chatting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to try to do this just chatting thing probably either Thursday nights or Friday nights, or maybe both, depending on schedule. Are there specific times that you guys are on? Maybe I can try to make it so that way it's easier for you guys to come in and join in. Yeah, Friday nights are. Uh, yeah, so I'm probably going to plan on my case Friday round 8 Eastern Standard Time. That's usually when I'm on. So if you want to come in and join next Friday, 8 Eastern Standard Time, I think I should be good to continue, and I can probably catch you guys up on the character that I've been creating with this 1,000-Year-Old diary, or 1,000-Year-Old vampire. And I also will randomly throw on any video game streamings that I'm playing. So you can always jump in and chat with me during those too. But I don't think I'm going to be running the model when I play because I just can stream it through the PlayStation. And I don't have a video card right now for it attached. All right. All right. Have a good night, guys. Or good night / good morning, depending on where you're at, Mafu. And I will see you guys later.